Welcome back to Cycling Demystified, brought to you by the Foundation Bike Fit team, your podcast for exploring everything to do with the art, craft, and people behind Bike Fit. And there's two of us today, me, Wei, and Matt the Younger.
Hello.
Hello. You're not hungover this time, which is great.
I wasn't hungover last time.
Yeah. Well, you had the lying seat.
I was horizontal last time.
Yes. So now you're with us a little bit more. We can talk about you today.
Scary.
Oh, yeah. Last week we had a chat with Lee Prescott from the IBFI, and I thought I'd bring back some of the chat and discuss some of that, and maybe also discuss your pathway to being a bike fitter, Matt, because you've been through almost like an apprenticeship here.
I thought you were going to say through the ringer.
Through the grinder. Fresh meat through the grinder. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're in one piece still. You're not mincemeat yet.
Lean.
Yeah, though it does feel pretty full on at the moment. We're peak season for bike fitting. I think this is where a lot of bike fitters do burn out just through sheer volume of kind of working, and it's such a seasonal trade that you got to make hay whilst the sun is shining, and everyone wants a bike fit yesterday.
We should do a silly season bingo card.
What would that be?
All the things that you hear from clients at this time of year.
Bingo, 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 bingo.
Got an Ironman next week. That's the first one.
Yeah.
Ding.
Do you feel like Ironman's come back with a vengeance at the moment?
I don't think I'm old enough to necessarily say come back, because I'm not sure I was around the first time. Sure.
But triathlon in general, like since COVID, COVID definitely killed events and triathlons. And since then, the triathlon field has felt quite low. There's not been that kind of enthusiasm to get back into it, and suddenly this year I felt like suddenly everyone's come back into it. Like all the races were sold out, everyone wants to do Ironman, everyone's got a race yesterday.
Yeah, again, I can't say this with any actual experience, but I get the impression that it's come back with a different sort of kind of flavour, a different kind of crowd. People are doing it for different reasons than they were before.
You reckon?
Again, I don't know this from experience, but this would be my kind of assumption based on what we see, is that triathlon used to be this slightly outlier, like weirdo sport, for want of a better word. Would you agree as a former triathlete?
I used to coach weirdos.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And I think Matt Senior and I were talking about the kind of like the heyday of Ironman before, when it was all like budgie smugglers and like neon yellow and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And now it definitely seems to be a different flavour of triathlete, of people who are taking on these events.
I think it's a bit like cycling.
Sure. Yeah.
Cyclists used to be weirdos.
Yeah.
We still are weirdos.
Again, yeah, maybe it was a different sort of demographic. I was in France recently, in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside, and it was heaving with cyclists. But it was like I just stepped back kind of 10, 20 years into the past.
Wow.
In terms of like where it was all team kit.
Right.
And like rim brakes.
Yeah, that's Europe.
Yeah.
That's Europe for you. But yeah, there's definitely a different flavour. I think as sports become more popular, then the maybe goals, or there's just more people involved in it, and there's just a broader depth of involvement and participation, and so people come at it at different levels, and I think maybe the high end also gets higher, and the kit definitely has become more optimized, for lack of a better word, and more aerodynamic. It feels more professional, it feels more accessible to your regular amateur athlete, and you can go out there and buy your way into a 20 grand tri bike, no problem, with all the fancy disc wheels and 3D printed armrests 100%. And all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I wonder what it's like at the other end. Is there still the kind of want to just get into the sport. Because one of the beautiful things about triathlon was that you could just do it on anything. The first triathlon,
flat bars and pannier racks.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no prejudice in that. It's I'm just getting on, I'm participating, I'm doing it. And as long as you can swim, bike and run, then that's fine.
Whereas now we're seeing, and this week's been a perfect example of people doing their first triathlon on 5 to 10 grand race bikes, and they've been cycling for 3 months. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but this is what I mean about maybe motivations behind doing it or taking part in the first place has maybe somewhat changed, whereas before maybe it was, I'll just give it a go and see if I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think that just the barriers to entry have just widened, and the barriers to entry have lessened in that you can enter into the sport from lots of different directions and at different levels, and you can just do that. And that's just the way it is, and that's just how it happens when things become more popular. It's like cycling. If you've never been a cyclist before, you can go out there and buy your 10 grand bike and all the pads and all mal kit, and off you go. You look the part. Whereas before, usually the pathway into the sport might have been more, okay, here's a second-hand bike, here's something that's passed on to you, here's some kind of second-hand gear, put it on, let's go out for a ride, let's join the club, see what happens, see if you like it, can you hang on?
Yeah.
And then just go through almost like an initiation.
There's definitely, I don't feel like I'm, again, because I haven't been in this for as long as maybe some others, I don't feel like I'm particularly scroogey about entering the sport. That being said, I think there is probably a lot to be said for seeing if you like it first before spending all that money. It sounds pretty simple, but
I think that's it. There's just a different diversity of people entering the sport.
Yeah, or maybe not even seeing if you like it, but just at the very least finding the enjoyment in it before you spend the money.
Sure, I think maybe that's it. It's people are entering the sport for different reasons, and there's those people on one side who all about the actual act of cycling, the feel of it, the enjoyment of actually riding the bike, and then there's definitely a fashion aesthetic side to it. We make those choices because we want to be seen in this group with this kind of kit and look pro, and that's cool too.
Or if we're speaking triathlon, sometimes it's very much like a means to an end.
Sure.
So it's, I want to say that I've done this really fast time, therefore I just need the fastest stuff straight away.
If you can buy the speed, then why not?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Wow, we got sidetracked like 1 minute into this podcast.
I've got a good segue though. But this is what we were talking about bike fitting with Lee from the IBFI. We're very much talking about pathways into bike fitting. How does one get started as a bike fitter? What's the pathway into it? How do you get established? How do you form a business? How do you continue it? And
well saved. Smooth.
Yeah, you like that. But we did use the analogy of being a club cyclist, and Lee being even older than I am. He was talking about his club days and riding with a club and just having to hang on and go through that initiation of actually you learn the most about the sport from the club and from the other people in the club, and you know what you had to do, the roadcraft, the etiquette, the how to ride in a group, when to eat, what to eat, how to change gears, when to change gears, how to deal with hills, all that kind of stuff. Whereas all that knowledge is out there, like now. It's out on the internet. It's accessible if you want to find it, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably the key part, is if you want to find it. There's a lot of info out there.
Yeah.
A lot of it is probably not as important as it's made out to be. And I think actually, like 100% agree, a lot of the important stuff it's a lot easier to find out with, say, riding with an experienced club.
Yeah, and it suddenly becomes more relevant, right? You're put in the context of actually having to ride your bike rather than sitting indoors on Zwift, and you don't have to balance, you don't have to steer, you have to look out for other people, you have to be cognizant of where you're putting your wheel, all that kind of stuff. So it's like it fast tracks all that knowledge and experience into a very relevant situation. And I think that's where we were talking about kind of bike fitting. Like, how does one become a bike fitter? And I think this is one of the goals of the IBFI, which is the International Bike Fit Institute, which is trying to formalize bike fitting as a recognized profession. A bit like, I don't know, being a personal trainer or a physiotherapist, then there should be a recognized accreditation or stamp of approval in some ways, just to show that you have been able to demonstrate certain skills and you're at a certain level of competence to be able to carry out the work. And if we could do that, then that would be great for the industry in terms of just formalizing it and standardizing things and being able to have a more unified voice in terms of, I guess, getting the public to understand what bike fitting is. Because at the moment, it's pretty much like the Wild West.
Took the words right out of my mouth. The absolute Wild West. And it doesn't matter what level cyclist you're working with. There's some crazy stuff out there.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of confusion out there. But if you're interested in bike fitting, then at the moment, there's no real formal way to train as a bike fitter. And I think some of the traditional ways of becoming a fitter have also disappeared, in that a lot of shops themselves used to have fitters as a way of helping them sell bikes and to offer a broader range of services to their clients. And I think a lot of shop fitters have disappeared.
A lot of shops have disappeared.
Yeah, a lot of shops have disappeared. And Bike Fit is one of those services that generally disappears first.
It'll be the first one to go.
Yeah, you take up more shop floor space, so you can't sell so much bikes, and just the time to sell from a Bike Fit is longer, and so on. So as a short-term solution, getting rid of Bike Fit is usually the way shops have gone. So with less of that kind of pathway, the good thing about being a shop fitter was that you had a little bit more of a buffer, or you had a bit more support from the shop itself. As a fitter, you could usually learn from someone who's been there before. Certainly that's how I learned. I got put into a position where I had to size people for custom bikes, and someone had to show me what they knew and what to do and how to size, what good looks like, how to make decisions. And then you get given the tools and the space to hone your craft. But if that's been taken away, then it becomes even more difficult then to become an independent fitter, which is what we are. We just concentrate on the bike fit element. So I thought maybe it might be useful for the listeners or anyone who's interested in bike fit just to hear a little bit more about your journey and how you managed to stick with us and you're still here after,
Hanging on.
How many years now? 2 years?
Yeah, about 18 months.
Yeah. And yeah, it's been great. One of the other Matt, I don't think he wanted to say it, but he secretly did. But he did say that one of his best experiences about last year was just seeing how much you had progressed and how much you had learned and how competent you had become as a bike fitter. Just confidence. So yeah, let's dig into it a little bit more. Like why? Well, let's start off. Why did you want to become a bike fitter, or how did you get interested in it in the first place?
Well, first of all, I think I haven't had maybe as linear way into it as some others. For example, I'd never worked in a bike shop before.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that kind of pre-existing knowledge or pre-existing conception of what it maybe entailed outside of having a few bike fits myself, as in being a client of a bike fitter.
Yep.
But actually that was something that kind of piqued my interest in the first place, was just being introduced to it by trying to solve my own problems and just being a bit stubborn with like going too far down the rabbit hole. I think you do have to be someone who's happy to peel back the layers of the onion a little bit when it comes to understanding things, rather than just being told something's good and then just hanging on to that and not really digging any deeper. I'm getting sidetracked already, aren't I?
No, that's great. That's certain qualities of practitioners You just have to be curious, right?
Yeah,
You're always questioning.
And I think part of that is because bike fit is not what it seems to be on the kind of surface level, is what I've learned. The important stuff is actually like a world away from what a few videos on Instagram might tell you that it is. And I think I was almost quite fortunate to be dealing with a lot of weird stuff with my own bike position, which kind of led me to going down the rabbit hole. I think if you're someone that generally doesn't have any issues with cycling, then you might just think that it's all sunshine and roses for everyone. So in some ways, I don't know how true this is, but in some ways, kind of being a bit janky yourself will give you a bit more empathy for maybe other people who are dealing with some stuff too.
Yeah, like me and Matt, we've had all kinds of injuries, and that's how we can relate and understand to the people that we see. We've been there, we've done that. Matt's had God knows how many stress fractures and all the rest of it, and that has an effect on how he rides his bike. But he rides his bike and he's very comfortable. So you know from that experience that a good bike position is possible and so on. But I think it's that curiosity that really we want to see from a bike fitter, to just peel back the layers of the onion and discover what's underneath, whether or not you like it or not.
Sure, or whether or not that it even resonates with you.
Yeah.
Because I wrote a few notes in preparation for this. And one of the notes I wrote was to not get blindsided by, like, I put like, quote unquote stuff. Stuff in bike fit, I think, is a bit of a red herring. And I think people come into it thinking, oh, I get to play around with stuff and handlebars, cranks, saddles. And yes, all that stuff is important. But I think if you get too interested in that kind of stuff, it can drive you in maybe a sort of wrong direction. Whereas I think peeling back the layers of the onion a little bit and starting to look at the body, which in our mind is the important part, that's when it really starts to all make sense and to click. And then you can think of the stuff as the thing that facilitates the real meaningful things. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm going down but I do feel like people, when they think about bike fit, they do just think of stuff and components and measurements. And actually, I think when I started to look past that, it all made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think stuff, as you said, is the bike components, bikes, handlebars, cranks, pedals, shoes, cleats. All of the stuff is the most visible part of the sport. It's an inherent part of the sport. You can't do cycling without a bike, right? And so I think people want to get that right.
Yeah, 100%.
And they want to focus on the stuff because it's very tangible. It's very there in front of them.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right in that once you've got beyond the stuff and you realize that the body is the engine and the body drives all your decision making really behind the stuff, then you can spend a bit more time and focus on the body. And as we've spoken about on the Bike Fit podcast before, like, it's called Bike Fit, and that's part of the problem. It's not called bike and body fit, it's called bike fit. And so the attention is focused on the bike initially. And that's fine. And I think that's where different levels of bike fitters come into play.
Or just not even levels, just different bike fitters.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not saying that stuff isn't important, because it is. And some people are like, there's some great bike fitters that are really into stuff.
Yeah.
The word stuff's starting to sound weird now. But there's some great bike fitters that are really into stuff and playing around with stuff and modifying stuff. And that is great. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if you only think about the stuff, or if you kind of get down the train track of stuff, then it does make understanding the kind of bigger picture, or just learning bike fit, a little bit more difficult.
Or maybe this is what you're most interested in, the movement of the human body, what we can do with the human body, and how we can get that relationship with the bike even better. Yeah,
I agree that I'm maybe, I don't want to say biased, but I maybe have a different view on it to others. But I do, I guess, just from my kind of limited experience of doing this, quite strongly believe that you you have to learn it. You have to learn to not be blindsided by the stuff, and to get that deeper meaning, that next layer of the onion to...
Yeah, because at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to be either more comfortable on the bike, ride further, ride faster, or do it for longer. And all of that requires efficient movement from the body. Your engine needs to be tuned. Your body needs to be working well. The bike won't ride itself. So there's a limit to how much you can modify and change stuff on the bike. So if you can exhaust that kind of limitation very quickly, I think. So once you get the stuff out of the way, then you can get to work on the really significant stuff of bike fit, which is understanding how your body likes to move, how it interacts with the bike, and understanding why it moves in the way it does. Would you say that's what you're trying to get to?
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, to be clear, maybe there's sort of other areas of bike fit which still come under the umbrella, which are very legitimate categories of bike fit. So like, we're not talking about how to be more aero here, or product design, or anything that kind of requires some knowledge of the stuff, and maybe the different sorts of testing is like absolutely fine. Yeah. But even then...
Okay. So if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh crap, I didn't know that I'd need to learn that much about the body from the bike fit point of view, what would you say to them? Is that going to put people off becoming a bike fitter? Or you're not a physiotherapist, right?
No, not at all.
I'm not a physio. We just see a lot of human bodies all the time. But I don't know, as you were going through the kind of learning process and learning about the body and so on, did that kind of put you off? Or do you find, oh my God, there's way too much information here? Or did you just find it engaging and interesting, and that just led you down a rabbit hole?
So I think, my heart wants to tell me, no, don't let it put you off. But my head wants to tell me, don't let it put you off, but also don't be scared of learning more about the body. What was the second part of your question? Whether
or not you felt like that or learning about the body kind of put you off, was going to be a driver for putting you off becoming a fitter.
I think for me personally, I found it quite engaging. I think I came into the process already being quite engaged by that aspect of it. Yeah. I also run, and I've had 1,000,001 running injuries, and in some ways that was quite a nice segue, a nice bit of experience to have coming into bike fit, because I'd already gone down that rabbit hole, which is maybe a story for another day, of trying to figure out the running injuries, and almost like never being satisfied with the little nuggets of info I was being given by physios and whatnot. So I think for me personally, I was already relatively excited by that aspect of it. Yeah. But that's not to say that you have to be that engaged by it in the first place to start learning about it. Yeah. And like we were talking before we started recording about the 10,000 hours thing. Yep. And it's just like anything. It's like, I arguably still don't get all of it after a year of doing loads of bike fits. And you're not going to get it all at the start, and that's okay. But it's nothing to be scared of. Yeah. It's just like anything.
Yeah, as long as you're helping people and you're making a little bit of improvement, then that's great.
And chances are, like, you'll learn a lot without even realizing it. Yeah. Just by watching, just by doing, it's all a process of testing, isn't it? Making a change and seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's always really interesting from my perspective, looking at people learning the craft. So I'm helping someone else at the moment in a different location learn the craft, and their requirements are radically different to yours.
Sure.
So they know the bike and they spend all day selling bikes and they can talk about bikes all day long, but getting them to think about how the body interacts with the bike, that's the really tricky thing, and getting them to see the movement and connect the dots between, so the foot's doing this, which means the knee is doing this, which means the hip is doing this, which means their back is doing this, which means their shoulder is doing this. And that's different from one side to the other. And just getting them into the mindset of looking for these little puzzles and then relating that back to, what does that mean about the bike? Do I need to change something about the bike? Do I not? Whereas I think almost you're the opposite. You're looking at the body and then
To be honest though, even then, I would say I did not have a clue coming into it. Which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like I was coming into this being some kind of expert. I'm still not an expert, but I definitely wasn't back then.
Yeah.
Interestingly, one of the other things I was writing about, in some other notes I was writing, was that I felt, in hindsight, I think at the start I was really interested, or I was really trying to figure out, for example, if we take how to set someone's saddle height, I was really trying to work out in my mind what a good saddle height looked like. But it took me quite a long time to realize that you can't just see what a good saddle height is. You can't just see what a good leg extension is, no matter how much Retool tells you you can. You can't. There's more layers to it. There's more moving parts. There's more elements to it than you can just see just from looking at someone pedaling from side view in 5 seconds. And the only way you can kind of overcome that is just by practicing, just by doing it more. But it's not something that you can maybe come into learning about bike fit already knowing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It reminds me of coaching. People would quite often not want to come to coaching session because they'd say, I'm not good enough. And you're like, you don't come to a coaching session because you're already good enough. You come because you want to learn and do more. And the same thing with like fitting or learning anything new. Yeah, you just got to learn it and immerse yourself into the environment. And I think this is where the tricky part is. Like, you came to us and you asked to spend time with us. So you were already proactive. You were asking to spend time with us and learn a little bit more about and let you just sit in, and you just kept turning up.
Extra pair of hands, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, you just kept turning up. So we were like, oh, this guy's interested. Which is interesting. And then kept feeding you little tidbits here and there. Start getting involved. Start asking you questions, getting the cogs whirring. And yeah, so it almost pretty much turned into an apprenticeship, would you say?
It's fair to say.
Yeah, just learning through doing. And there was a time where we got to a point where it's like, okay, we need to commit to it. I need to pay you some money. You need to commit more time to it in order to take you to that kind of next level of beyond being a hobby bike fitter or someone who just looks at people and being like, yeah.
And crucially actually starts doing bike fits.
Yeah.
Because you can watch a bike fit session all you want.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you won't start actually understanding it until you actually start doing it. It's like this when you learn any new skill, right? You can watch and observe till the cows come home. But until you actually start doing it, and getting things wrong, actually, I think is really important part of it. Until you actually start putting it into practice, you probably won't understand it. And that's a good thing, because it's something to look forward to if you're thinking about getting into it.
Yeah.
Or it's like the light at the end of the tunnel is that you don't have to just you can't just read a book and then be able to do it.
Yeah. It's like learning a language, right? Or playing an instrument. You can you can read all the theory about how to play guitar, but until you actually do it and ingrain that kind of movement into your body. Yeah. I think that's the tricky thing. There's no long-term course. So if you're a physiotherapist, you study for years. I don't know what the time frame is, like
4 years, I think.
3-4 years. And then you get put into a placement in the NHS and you've got to see all kinds of different people, and you learn through doing. But there's nothing like that in bike fit. And so I think it is a tricky place to get into, and you need someone to take you under their wing to support you and show you what it's really all about, or how they do things, and see if you kind of resonate with that. What are the day-to-day requirements? Because there's quite a lot of skills that you need to acquire over and above just being a competent fitter that understands human movement and how the bike relates to, or different changes to the bike relates to how someone moves and so on. You've still got to adjust the bike. You've got to be confident in turning an Allen key, moving bits of the bike around, using other bits of equipment, measuring the bike. Then how we do it is writing the report, drawing up all the measurements into bike CAD, communicating to the person.
People skills.
Yeah, and that was a really big thing that I talked to Lee about, and one of the important things that he's introducing into the syllabus of the IBFI training is that, there has to be a people skills and communication element that is taught so that you understand how to relate to your fellow human beings, how to talk to people who have a different personality type, who you initially don't relate to at all. How do you communicate the same information and important theory concepts of bike fit to them so they understand what they're doing. And
I think that's really important. This is it. It's like we've been talking for however long about all the kind of nitty gritty of it, or we've been alluding to all the nitty gritty of peeling back the onion and learning more and finding out more and being curious. But actually, like when you meet people, and again, it's not a criticism, but when you meet most clients on their level, all they really want to know is, what bike do I need? What size stem do I need? That's it. That's where they're at. And that's fine. But if you've got all this knowledge bubbling around, and to be clear, this is something I probably am still getting to grips with. If you've got all these ideas whizzing around your head, and all day you're thinking about proprioception and muscle recruitment and whatever, big toes, and then suddenly you're faced with someone who just wants to know what stem length they need, how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, there's a definite skill to relaying that information and why it becomes relevant. And usually things like pain become a pretty good driver for getting people to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Why does my left knee hurt and not my right knee? Why is it not both knees? And just asking those kind of questions. And so your bike fit session actually becomes quite a big exploration, really. And I think maybe people don't quite realize that, and so that becomes part of the skill of a bike fitter to manage that kind of situation. And so it becomes quite overwhelming, doesn't it? Because I've definitely seen some very good bike fitters. They're competent in how they go about their trade and kind of how they set people up, but their ability to communicate with people is they struggle with that, and that really sets them back from running a successful business or being able to stay in the trade.
This is where, dare I go down this train of thought, but this is where the tech comes in, because let's face it, most people in this world are probably not the greatest communicators. Particularly those who are like incredibly nerdy about bikes and bodies for whatever reason. And so I think that's probably why we've now got to the point where tech is the de facto. And we're talking about motion capture, saddle pressure mapping, whatever it is, so that you almost don't need to have those skills if you can just say to the client, this is objectively better. And this is coming from someone who's quite stubborn about those sort of things, and I don't really want to use it. But you hear bike fitters say, actually, it's not for us, it's for the client. And I think that's true, and that's probably why it's now such a kind of a big thing in this industry.
Yeah, I think it's an easy way to communicate a change or difference. And we live in a tech-laden world. We expect it. The bike is a piece of tech. And so why wouldn't you use another bit of tech to communicate what's happening on the bike, which is another bit of tech? So it seems like a logical kind of way of communicating. And so, it is useful. Saddle pressure mapping, it's great visualization. But again, the trap is, as we talked about before, is just relying on the tech solely. So again, the same with just relying on your eyes solely and relying on subjective feel. There always needs to be a combination of subjectivity and objectivity and measurement and feel and getting a gauge for where that person wants to go as well. So, again, that's part of the art and craft of being a fitter.
So I would say, and I think you'll probably agree, is that when you're learning it, actually, again, the tech becomes the red herring, I think. So I think if you're learning via the tech, that's probably something that's going to put a bit of a ceiling on how much you're really going to get a grasp on it.
Yeah. But would you say it's a good way to start, though? It will get you to a certain point, right?
Yeah, but I think you have to put a pretty definitive limit on where you stop using it, because
I think most good fitters will hit that ceiling very quickly.
But it's knowing you've hit the ceiling. rather than just thinking, oh, I'm there now,
Yeah.
I can do it.
Speaking from my experience, like when I started fitting, I did everything by eye because that was how I was taught.
Yeah.
But then tech came along. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. You can measure stuff. So I started
Flashing
using
lights.
I started using tech, all the measurements. I can measure knee angle, and I think I was using it on myself, and I measured my knee angles, and I kept putting it to the normative ranges. And I was like, this really hurts. This is crap. And then actually where I put it to where it felt good, and I had a much lower knee extension angle than average. I was like, is this right? Is this not? Is there something wrong with me? And so then that kind of question snowballs into other stuff. And then that's where I did some training with Tony Cork on his course, and that's where I really started to learn more about how the body moves and so on, and not having to rely on kind of body angles and so on. And actually, just turns out that I had really tight hamstrings, and I just didn't want to extend my legs as much because I was doing loads of running at that time. And so that was the best position for me.
Look, like everyone's going to respond to different ways of learning differently. When you're at school, and some people are more visual learners, some people are more, whatever it is, they learn by listening. So yeah, of course, like for some people it's going to be more useful than others. But I'd say everyone across the board needs to be aware of the limitations, as you've just rightly described.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's getting there, but the trick is convincing the public.
You say maybe it's getting there, having just come from speaking with a very experienced, excellent bike fitter, but then you looked at other places where it's going completely the other way, and their whole idea of bike fit is just getting it all to line up on the automatic machine with all the sensors and stuff. So
I think that's where the IBFI is hoping to make a difference in terms of having accreditation and just trying to put out some standards of competence in terms of what do we expect from a good bike fit. It's going to take some time, but as the profession grows, then hopefully we'll get better results. But I guess the tech does have a place, and those green lights will get you to a certain level, and maybe for a lot of people that's maybe enough, but then it's like communicating to the public.
It's out of my mouth.
Or how do you find a really good bike fit?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think there are some bike fitters, in the UK especially, that are doing from what I can see, doing a great job at changing the perception of what a bike fit session should be.
Yeah. So, all right, put it this way. So why did you come to us then to learn about bike fit rather than going... Because there's a lot of bike fitters around London.
Correct.
Or was it just because we responded to your email?
Probably.
Because we've seen other bike fitters and everyone works in a different way, right?
Yeah, I mean, being an approachable person certainly didn't not help.
But yeah, if you were... And so...
So, okay, actually, do you really want to know one interesting thing?
Okay.
This is again, probably people are going to be rolling their eyes, but one moment that I knew that it was in a good place was when Matt Senior and I, in one of the first sessions of observing, started chatting about reading the Doctors of Running blog on the internet. And I was like, okay, this guy's speaking my language.
Yeah, you guys get along because, you're both musicians, you're both runners.
Right.
So, there's a good synergy there. You're both called Matt.
But it's the same thinking around running as it is around cycling. It's like, obviously in running now, running's a much more pure form of exercise, of endurance, but now that tech is now a thing, unfortunately. Fortunately, but also unfortunately, tech is now a thing. You've got shoes, you've got all different types of shoes, super shoes, whatever, guidance shoes. And again, it was just about being curious as to what type of thing might work for a different sort of person, and just going a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah.
And it's transferable knowledge, and it takes that sort of thought process, that sort of person, essentially.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely know of a few bike fitters who have stopped bike fitting, but moved more into the movement space of understanding general movement, or running movement or just human movement, because it's all relatable, right? So at the end of the day, you're just trying to get a human body to move better. And if you move better, then you're out of pain and you can get more performance, etc., etc. So there's different ways to move through kind of different practices, and bike fit is just one of those practices. A bit like there's a lot of physios out there who also dabble in some bike fitting, or have become, but bike fitting has become more of their full-time kind of business. And I guess that's another pathway into kind of bike fitting as it is. But I think in general, at the moment, if you want to become a bike fitter, I think one of the best things you can do is just spend a lot of time with bike fitters, different bike fitters, trying to get an idea of how they do things, whether or not that resonates. And you kind of have to take a bit of time out to do that. It's investing time away from what you're doing at the moment in order to learn a different way of doing things.
Yeah, on a personal level, it would probably help that I was at a bit of a what do you call it?
Juncture.
A juncture in the train tracks, I guess.
Yeah.
In my life. And so I had the time to explore that curiosity.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that you can just make a sudden change into. You're going to have to devote some time to it.
Yeah.
Just like anything.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the biggest barriers, is just the amount of time it takes to learn and be supported in that time as well. I think a lot of people come into it as a part-time bike fitter as well.
Yeah.
Because they're doing other jobs, and so it becomes like a second job that they do at the weekend or after hours or something like that. And so, there is a difficult path. Certainly, if you're hoping to become an independent bike fitter, essentially you're trying to build your own business. And to have a sustainable business, then you have to learn even more skills. So the idea of not just being a competent bike fitter, but to be able to get the business in, to be able to create the network of clients that you want to bring into your studio, or how do you generate business? How do you manage the books? Where do you get people from? And do you need a studio?
I guess that's where maybe more experienced bike fitters as yourself, as Lee, maybe taking on that more of a mentor role becomes really important. Because ultimately, no one has the bandwidth to, number one, learn the craft of bike fitting, number two, learn about the body, number three, learn how to be a competent business person, all at the same time, and jump into it that way. So you need people to create space to learn those skills. Like I'm not the greatest business person in the world, I think. But I've had the space to be able to learn the other things, and who knows, maybe at some point I will be better at business. I don't know, but probably not. But ultimately, you're going to have to take it one step at a time. And so, maybe that's a barrier to entry, is just not having enough space in the industry to learn those things.
I think that's the thing of having bike fitters losing a bit of space within shops has really put a bigger barrier to kind of people wanting to become bike fitters. Like, even thinking about all the emails that I've got and the people that have come in to see me over this last year, just this year and the end of last year, there's so many people coming in who are interested in bike fitting, but I think having talked to them, they suddenly have this realization of, this isn't just like a new job I can just walk into. There's a whole load of skills that I need to learn in order to make it happen. And I don't know if my bike shop is going to support me, or my studio practice is going to support me in doing all of this, and how do I get through it? I guess the only positive I can say about that is that, actually, having talked about tech and so on, actually you don't need very much to get going. So I learned bike fitting back in 2010s, just before, through a shop. Spent a lot of time there tuning bikes and so on. Then took a break. I worked in other parts of the bike industry, and then I came back, and again there was a point in time where it was suddenly like, okay, I want to start my own thing. I want to do something on my own. I feel ready to take on my own project. So let's go back to bike fitting. And I started out as a mobile bike fitter, so I'd go around to people's homes.
I wish I'd seen that in the cargo bike.
Yeah, with a cargo bike, it was badass.
Just imagining young Wei just like cruising through the streets of East London on a cargo bike.
So fit. Just riding, like no e-bikes or anything like that. Just cruising through East London on a cargo bike with a turbo trainer strapped to the back and
sounds blissful.
20 saddles in the bag.
Until you've got to carry it up 4 flights of stairs.
There were some interesting situations, but I got it down to everything was very portable. So you could put the bag on your back and carry the turbo. It had a really cool fold-up turbo, which is a feedback sports race turbo, which is it's a hybrid kind of fixed front, but with a roller on the back, but you could fold it up. Really good. And yeah, that was really fun. Just going around to people's homes. I didn't charge that much because I didn't feel like I could do, because I was still getting back and learning the craft and so on, but just throwing myself into that situation, I learned so much. And you do look back at your old fits and you go, oh my god, what is that? But you were still making a difference, but now you know so much more that you could see there's even more improvements that you could make. But maybe that was a good enough level for me to be at to really get my teeth into the craft of it and start learning about what was important and what was not. And certainly with a mobile setup, you're much more limited than as we are now here.
This is it. Could you imagine trying to do that now? Because every day you'd be turning up at someone's house and they'd have a canyon with an integrated cockpit. So what are you going to do?
That was a really big juncture in that project as well. As I started seeing more and more canyons and more disc brakes and having to modify the trainer to be able to take through axles, and then there's integrated handlebars and so on.
Someone needs a 40mm shorter reach. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And even back then though, like the Canyon one-piece bar and stem, you could still take that off and put a sizing stem on, because Bike Fit made like a 1.25" steerer tube sizing stem which you could put on, and not all the cables are routed completely internally, so you could still take the handlebar off and put on a sizing stem and figure that out. But now, as the bike industry has decided that everything has got internal routing now, bikes are really hard to modify, and so most of our fitting now takes place on the jig.
So actually, this was one of my tips for aspiring bike fitters, is buy an adjustable bike. So if you've got a bike which has an integrated cockpit, I don't know, throw it in the bin, sell it to your mate, and just buy an adjustable bike. So buy a CAD, buy a Soloist, buy a Crux, the old one. Buy a bike with just an Athos, again, the old one. Just a bike with a normal front end with some cables external, and I promise you, your friends won't laugh at you. It's fine. You can have cables outside of the frame. It's okay. Just buy an adjustable bike and buy a bunch of stems off eBay. Because this is what I did, right? Yeah. And I arrived here by accident. I didn't do it on purpose. But in hindsight, it was a good thing. Buy a bunch of stems on eBay. Buy some different handlebars. And just move things around. And this is the way that you can feed the curiosity, is by being like, okay, when I change this, what effect does that have on the position? What effect does that have on my body? And just play around, because as you say, we can't do that at the moment. You can't do that on your tarmac or your canyon or whatever it is.
So ironically, we kind of need more tech now to deal with the kind of current bike. You need a jig, really, an adjustable jig.
We'd be so lost without it.
Which presents another barrier for entry.
And I guess that it just comes back to having those spaces for people to learn. I don't have all the answers. Sue me.
I don't know. I wonder if there's any parallels with learning other things like music, or being a chef, or working in hospitality, or I guess, did you go to music school?
I did not.
Oh, so you just kind of learnt stuff.
There's a theme here, isn't there?
Just
a bit of stubborn persistence. I went to music school. I had some training in it, but I definitely found my own way a little bit.
But you've got to a level now that you're playing gigs, and that's another part of your profession.
So
Two
doomed industries. I should add.
Yeah. So what's our parting tip then for aspiring bike fitters or people interested in it? Just get in touch. Let us know.
Yeah, no, genuinely, I would love to help and just share stuff that I've learned, actually, because, like I say, I think a lot of people have interesting preconceptions about what bike fit actually is, and as I say, tend to get waylaid by the stuff and the equipment. But actually, I think, just ask more questions. Yeah. I'm certainly here for it.
Yeah. So, if you want to learn more about bike fitting, get in touch. I'll leave an email in the description below. Shall I leave your personal email?
I realised as I was saying that I've set myself up for a bit of extra admin work here. Probably not. No one cares that much.
It'll be good. Or if you're curious, come down, have a coffee, chat to us. We're always open door. But look out for the IBFI as well. Check out their website, ibfi-certification.com, I believe. And hopefully you should see that kind of pathway into the profession building as we go through. But I think it's a worthwhile pursuit, bike fitting, especially in this modern age where
100%.
I feel like bike fitting is needed more than ever because of the integration and the proprietary nature of a lot of bikes. And so we need more bike fitters.
People being janky.
Yeah, and just our bodies aren't getting any better. But if you're interested, get in touch. Let us know your thoughts. If you are an aspiring bike fitter and you've had some issues along the way, we'd love to know what they are, how we can help you out, especially as we are maturing bike fitters. Then, I guess we want to give back a little bit to the community as well. So, we'd love to hear from you. And hopefully there was some useful stuff in that rambling conversation.
Don't know about that.
But as always, we'll be back next week for another episode. If you enjoyed this one, give us a like, share it with a friend who wants to become a bike fitter. And we'll see you on the next one. If you made it to the end of this episode, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, do leave us a rating or review, as this really helps other riders find our podcast too, and motivates us to keep making more episodes. Thanks for your support, and catch you on the next one.
Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride? These are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you're bike fit curious, get in touch with Wei or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding them on Instagram @FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike or hand-built wheels, go to www.frequencycycleworks.com or find me on Instagram @frequencycycleworks. Until next time, keep on spinning.